Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at the market site in Times Square, New York City, we have Caleb Silver. He's back with us. He is the editor-in-chief over at Investopedia, and we've been talking about 2020 outlook. Caleb's going to give us the look into the next decade. Can't believe we're already talking about.
I can't either. Here we are, 2020.
This is pretty amazing, and we'll pull up our chart here. We'll run through each one of these, and the first thing that you're looking at is ultra low interest rates.
Right. This has already been happening. It's becoming a global phenomenon. It's becoming a global phenomenon in developed economies. So Switzerland, Japan. We may see it in Germany pretty soon here, and the U.S. has pretty low interest rates too. I don't think we'll get to zero, but low interest rates is a reflection of countries and central banks needing to lean into monetary policy to juice economies, because organic growth is not happening right now. So if you keep interest rates super low, it makes the cost of money super cheap, and we're seeing those borrowing costs drop really low. The crazy thing is investors are willing to put their money in central banks where they're getting no return just for the safety of putting it with a bank and buying those treasury bonds. But this is a theme we think is going to last through the next decade, maybe beyond. We're in a new era.
All right, in ESG, sustainable investing, that's nothing new, hot topic for 2019, but climate change investing, I'm even covering that now, where that specific category is key.
Right, so climate economic, we haven't even factored these paradigms into our economic models. Our models of GDP, our models of growth, our models of profitability don't have climate baked into them, but they're starting to. And the Federal Reserve, other central banks around the world, some of the biggest banks in the world are starting to pay a lot of attention to this, because forget about black swans. This is about 1,000 black swans coming over you at one time. Nobody has really factored in climate migration. Nobody's factored in sea level rises that wipe out entire cities. So companies need to start figuring this out, and central banks need to start figuring it out, and this will be a huge theme in the next decade.
I think I'm most excited about future tech, because what we're experiencing, the way we live now with the Internet of Things and what's happening in our homes and how automation is changing the way we work, we're just at the beginning phases of this.
Right. We think about this as like Internet 3.0, right? We're in the platform era now. We were in the personal era for the last decade or so with the advent of smartphones, but now it's the platform era where platforms can do everything for you. So we're seeing that in automation, obviously. A lot of job replacement by automation. AI is helping power everything. I know I spoke to the CEO here at the Nasdaq about how they're using AI in their processes. But it's going to become a bigger part of how we live and learn, and how we actually invest. If you take the fintech angle, future tech is everything for the financial industry, and the financial industry has always been at the forefront of technological change. We're going to see that multiply geometrically in the next decade, and it's going to be all shaped by technology and developments therein.
All right, number 4, and we got a taste of this year with the Business Roundtable that came out a couple months ago, stakeholder capitalism. It's not about the shareholder anymore.
Right, so we've lived in an era and grown up in an era with enormous market returns where it was all about shareholder returns. But because of things like climate change, the importance of ESG, we are seeing that CEOs, and we saw the Business Roundtable come out in front and center on this, are thinking about stakeholders, the customer, the environment, the employees themselves, the community that they operate in, and I think that's great. That's a great sign. We just haven't had an era of stakeholder capitalism where we've seen what the returns will be like, but I think because of the new era of investors who really care about this stuff, I think it's going to be just fine, and this is a good sign for anybody invested in the capital market.
All right, we've been talking a lot about ESG and the future of technology, but global demographics, that's something that you can't shift around no matter how much innovation is in there. The fact of the matter is we're getting older.
We're getting older, and we're getting older almost across every developed continent right now. So that's transforming industries. Obviously, it's transforming healthcare. It's transforming biotech, if you think about some of the developments therein, in gene therapy. Also finance, of course, because everybody's talking about this big wealth transfer, the transfer of wealth from the silent generation and baby boomers down to Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, and that's trillions and trillions of dollars. It's not all going to happen at once, but it's this wave of money that's going to be flowing down for the next couple of decades as these older generations start to hand it down through their estates, through their businesses, and through their portfolios. And how is the finance industry going to react to that and set itself up so it can take advantage of the new wave of investors?
Even if we look at it from a macro perspective, even political perspective, we have to figure out how to pay for all of these people as well. So if you think Social Security is a big debate now, it's only going to get bigger.
Oh, the benefits question is huge. It's almost too big to fathom, but it is something that we're going to have to deal with because we're already running massive deficits, not just in this country, but around the world. And how do we pay for people living longer, and how do we adjust to the fact that retirement really isn't happening at 65 anymore. People need to work longer to sustain themselves and afford their lifestyles to live because they're living longer, and that whole paradigm is something that every industry is going to have to pivot towards.
All right, it's been a pleasure closing out the last decade with you. Looking forward to the next 10
Me
years.
too.
Thanks so much for
The
joining
next
me.
10 together. Thank you.
All right, and thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.